I don't know if you guys are paying attention, but there seems to be a building silent retirement crisis. If I think back in time when I was a young whippersnapper in my 20s, I knew I was contributing to Social Security, but I frankly did not expect to get any. I remember thinking that out loud. I'm putting this in there so I can pay for my mom and dad's retirement. That is why I jumped into stocks and ultimately into real estate, because I did not count on the federal government taking care of me. Never want the government to take care of me. It's not something I was up for, but it looks like there's lots of things coming. Matt, when you hear the idea of a silent retirement crisis, what are the first things that you think of?
Yeah, I was diametrically opposed to depending on the government to pay me for anything in my retirement.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I think that's probably not going to be such a very good plan. Now, if it's there, great, fantastic. But just like anything else in life, you just figure it out that you probably don't want to rely on somebody else. That's where it's, I'm never going to be one of those guys who was sitting in my office and get the notice for a pink slip and go, how can you do this to me? How could you ever do this to me? What are you joking? Like it's your mom that gave you a pink slip? What is wrong with you? Yeah. They owe you nothing. You owe them nothing. You choose to give them what you do and they compensate you for it. Fairly straightforward. So yeah, I think very often, I think that the younger generation understands that. I think millennials are mostly moronic when it comes to their thought process in this, is that they think that they're owed something even for just existing. That's consistently what I see. I've been pleasantly surprised with the 20-year-olds that we've hired and unpleasantly surprised by the 30-year-olds that we hire.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm starting to kind of see the same thing. People reach out to me all the time, and I'm more and more impressed with Gen Z. Actually, in fact, I just added another millionaire, Dylan, to the channel. He's I think he's 25 now, kind of like Cody. And they're just, they get it, right? They're not relying on anybody else. They're not whining or crying. They're kind of taking ownership and moving forward. Well, one of the things that's very interesting about our channel is Dion often brings the titles and ideas to the channel. And this is actually his idea. He pitched Silent Retirement Crisis. And then Matt and I just kind of riffed on it for a little bit. Let's see what Dion has to say. What do you got, buddy?
So if you ask people about the Silent Retirement Crisis, they're probably going to, first of all, they like the name. Crisis sells fear. Yeah. Silent means, what do you mean it's silent? And so we can quote data, and I have quoted data in many videos. And this is stuff that you can look up from, the Bureau of Statistics, Department of Ag. There's several different listings for this information. But 1 in 4 Americans, so talking US, at retirement age, which they call 65, 1 in 4 has a 0 or negative net worth. Yeah. Okay. That's scary. But we compare that to between the age of 55 and 65, that whole decade, 48% of US citizens have 0 saved for retirement. So they might not have a 0 net worth or a negative net worth, but they have 0 saved for retirement. So when you hear things like that, why don't we hear about the retirement crisis? Why don't we have people protesting in the streets over some political thing all the time, but why are there not hundreds of thousands of people 65 or older in the streets protesting that we have a crisis going on? And that's why this is called the silent retirement crisis, is because most of us at some point are almost middle class. Like there's a lot of people who are middle class. There's like 0.08% of us, according to Jaspreet Singh from Minority Mindset, who reach financial freedom before the age of 65. So that's a really tiny amount. And one of the things that Matt said was, I wouldn't want to be on the government's dime. I get the same perception when I talk to people about rentals they would never buy because they would never live there. And for me, that's not the case because I could live pretty much anywhere. I lived in a bus homeless when I got out of the Marine Corps, right? So my rentals, I could live anywhere. But where do people want to rent? So if people have a really high standard, they might not be able to buy any rentals at all because they couldn't live in any of the ones that they could buy. But they're not buying for themselves. They're buying for the tenants. So people who, like us, would not want, I'd rather be homeless than go on Section 8. I'd rather be homeless than get food stamps, right? I just did all those things. That's who I am, who you guys sound like. But what happens at 65? And this is why it's silent. How many government programs are actually available? People talk about, I can't live on Social Security. Sure, that would be really challenging. But now add Section 8, because at 65 or older, there's no work requirements. So you got SNAP. You've got There's different forms of SSI, right? We've got Social Security, then there's supplemental something. There's like all of these different programs that all of the sudden people educate themselves on when they get to that point where this is the choice they have to make. So not everyone is working until they're 70 or 80. The people who don't want to be on the government dime are, but a lot of people, and I mean hundreds of thousands, possibly multiple millions, are just going from, I was middle class, I worked my whole life. 48% have zero save for retirement by the time they're 55 to 65, but they're not out on the street living homeless because we have all these social programs in place. So the question is to the viewer, if you know somebody who's not making a plan, who's not spending less than they make, saving and investing the difference, trying to have a better financial future, are they the person who's going to get on all the programs? Or are they the person that's going to move in with their kids or be homeless? And so we don't hear about it. It doesn't really get, I mean, you get it talked about on like what I would call old people news. Like it is not normal for anybody, I think 50 or younger to watch 60 Minutes.
No, yeah.
They just don't. But that's where you'll see the interview of the people of, oh, it's really hard to live on us. We have to rely on food stamps. We have to rely on state medical. We have to rely on subsidized housing. Free public transportation. They have these, you can call and a bus comes to your house, takes you to the store. As long as you're over 65, most places have these as an option. So those people don't go on social media. They don't create a channel on how much it sucks to be retired. First, they probably don't want to admit to how many programs they're on. But with all of those programs available, I don't think we're going to hear about it enough to where those people that you talk to who are like Dylan and Cody, who are in their 20s, or Millennial Mike in their 30s, that'll go, I have to take charge of my future.
Well, yeah, that's what this channel is about. I'm more and more convinced that this channel is, and really our community is about wealth builders. And wealth builders, just by the title and the name, actions, we're trying to make a better future. I mean, I go back to, losing 80% of my wealth in the .com crash, feeling like a complete and utter failure. I was never thought about giving up. It was like, all right, well, let's dust myself off. Let's learn that painful lesson. And frankly, let's stop playing in a casino that you don't know the rules and go somewhere else, and AKA real estate. I think people that follow our channel and certainly watch more than one video, they're oriented to building wealth. So I would tell you, if you're out there and you're watching this channel and you do an honest assessment and you have, somewhere between 0 and 10 grand put away for retirement, unless you're 18, I think that's something you have to think about. And the interesting thing is, I don't really care if it's, it doesn't have to be a 401k, right? Pensions really aren't out there unless you're in the armed forces or police or something. But have a plan. I mean, you got to take extreme ownership. Many of my tenants, I'm going to guess 10% probably, are over 65 on some type of subsidy, whether it's Section 8 or SNAP or something else, because they didn't plan. Now, there's lots of reasons that could happen, but many of them are you just coasted through life. I mean, how many times do we talk about the wealth formula being 3 simple steps, and step 1 is to create disposable income? And, unless you do that, you have no chance at step 2 or step 3. It just doesn't matter. You can't plant seeds that don't exist. Matt, what do you think of all this?
Yeah, I mean, most of those people lived for today and were paying yesterday's bills. There was no financial wherewithal there. There was no largely financial effort there to educate, make themselves better, and they're the types of people that are watching the Crash Bros, trying to justify their lack of movement, their lack of getting things done. And that's what you find yourself. You can sit there and you can get in that doom loop. You've had her on your channel a couple of times. I can't remember. She's so negative on housing. And now she's on, one of the other channels. And what she's talking about all the time is the same doom stuff. And he's just like, yeah. Well, I'm going to monthly post a massive check to show people how awful real estate investing is, because I think they need to understand that it's there. It's attainable. 9th grade dropout can do it. Am I just that much smarter than you? Am I just that
Probably.
Maybe. Am I just that much harder working than you? Definitely. Did I think about these things? Yeah. But we obsessed about it in a negative way, from a perspective of, we were thinking I don't want to be there. Like I
I
hate
was
struggling.
so afraid. It was fear.
You and me both. Yeah.
Fear.
We struggled. It was completely 100% fear based. Did I want to become the loser every teacher thought I was going to become? Nope, I didn't. Did I want to worry about how am I going to live my life? Like I worked in a video store when they still had them. It was a takeoff of Blockbuster. I made $5.25 an hour after taxes on a 40-hour work week. My take home was $167.
Yeah.
No one's living on that. You couldn't live in your parents' house on that kind of money. So you have to recognize that you better be pushing, gunning, trying to do something that's not only this thing over here, but also this thing over here. How many people have side hustles? You know, the reason why things got so much more expensive is because it wasn't one income in a house anymore. It was two. Now it's not two incomes in a house. Now it's three, sometimes four, and not counting the kids. And then you have kids that are working and they're contributing. You can have 5 or 6 incomes in a household now. It's not unheard of. So why is everything so much more expensive? Because there's that much more money being created. But you can do that to get ahead, but you're going to have to do something other than punching a clock. And it's not because of the lack of the value of the dollar. It's for one thing and one thing only. It's the number of workers in a given household that now want to get ahead, and you're not keeping pace with society. That's your problem.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, again, one of my top 3 books I've always highlighted is extreme ownership. Until you take extreme ownership and just realize everything, and I mean everything is your fault, you're not going to get anywhere, right? If you keep blaming others, you're not going anywhere. And I think a silent retirement crisis is just an example. I mean, if you sit there and blame everybody else for your 40 years of bad decisions,
exactly,
guess what? You're going to live on government dime, right, Dion?
Well, I mean, there's even a step further, and every now and then people say I hit the feels a little too much, but there's people like Cody who had the very noble goal of I want to reach financial freedom so I can retire my mom.
Yeah.
Okay. So when somebody looks at taking care of their parents, great. But I want people to think of all the people that who are reaching retirement age, who have no plan, who have no savings, who are saying things like, I'm 68. Is it too late to start saving? Like they have nothing. And this is the question is, no, it's never too late. You have to start doing something at any point in time. But do you love your kids? Like this was the actual catalyst to why I started investing.
Yeah,
it wasn't to reach financial freedom. It wasn't generational wealth. I think that's a negative thing to create. My goal was I want to have my finances in order. So when I'm too old to not work, I can't work anymore because of age. I don't want to become a financial burden to my kids. So yeah, there are a lot of people who will go on Section 8, who will get food stamps, who will get state medical. But there's a lot of people who will be on their kids' cell phone plan, their kids' car insurance.
That's right.
And that's a tragedy. Now, are we decent human beings, most of us? Will we help take care of our parents? Absolutely. But did that parent set it up? Or is somebody watching, setting it up for their kids, thinking, you're going to watch all the Crash Bros and not take action because that's fine because, I had you used to 150 years ago, you would have 8 kids. So when you couldn't run the farm anymore, they would take over the farm. It was a good retirement plan. Well, that's not the way it's supposed to be anymore. Your kids aren't running a farm when they're taking care of you now. They're working and trying to have their own lives.
Yeah,
so,
I'm so glad you brought this up, the kids, because that again was my 100% driver when we started this journey. Is I was honestly never thinking about not being a burden to Teresa, the name of my daughter, but it was to not have her live the crappy fear-based, lose your home to foreclosure, not know where food's coming, have to get a job at 13, got a job at 12 under the table, having the responsibility to put food in the fridge at 13, right? I didn't want my daughter to have any of that. So again, I think, if you don't love yourself enough, find that person, whether it's your spouse, significant other, or kids, and just, I don't give a shit what the motivator is. Get that motivator, because again, the wealth formula is remarkably simple. Create disposable income, become a lead investor at something, and do it for a decade. It's not that hard. It's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, over. Anybody can do it. But people that get stuck at, the silent retirement crisis, they choose to not do step one. And if you don't do step one, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. One of my favorite stories that Pace tells is when he was, I think his late 20s, early 30s, he was working 6 days a week in construction, doing everything he could to make bills, make his bills. And he's like, but I can't get ahead. He's like, I'm not getting ahead. So he reaches out to his dad, and his dad's in his, late 50s, early 60s. And his dad said, you know what you got to do? You got to work more. And he goes, I'm working 6 days a week. Yeah. And he goes, you got to work more. So like give up half of your Sunday to just kind of get things in order. And literally the light bulb went off for Pace, where he's just like, I got to learn from different people. Yeah. And that's exactly right. You got to learn from different people. And so I think that that's the case for a lot of people. They don't know who those different people are to look at and to work for. The funny thing is that do you want to make a little bit of extra effort now for 5 to 10 years in your 20s, in your 30s, even in your 40s, even in your 50s? If you start investing now and you're in your early 50s, you're going to have 10 units in your mid 60s, late 60s. And life is going to be different for you. 50 is not too old. Even 60. People are living into their 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. I would 100 is not unheard of today.
No, it's not unheard of. Usually it's for women that married really well, that their husbands died 20 years before them because they gave them such an awesome life. But I think you look at all of these different scenarios, right? And you've got people.
Call that the Dion plan.
Yeah, the Dion plan.
Yeah, exactly. But all these people are in this position where they're going to be a financial burden on their kids. I can't tell you how many friends I have or people that I know that are talking about having to move in their parents. F me. No, not happening. Yeah. Like, what a nightmare. Like, how badly has life gone that you have to move your parents in? And the worst part is it's out of lack for the parent, but it's not out of wealth for the child.
No, it's like,
and it's just it further straps the system that then is going to create generational shortcomings for their kids. Like, think about that. That's the ramifications that are there when people don't take action because they're selfish and they'd rather spend their time doing other stuff.
Yeah. Well, Dion, I'll let you wrap it up. I just had this idea come to me again. If you want to join our community of wealth builders, we have a super special going on right now. We've actually got 4 folks that have volunteered to reimburse you for your first month. We got Mark, the financial firefighter, Mikey, Charles, and Carrie. So up to 40 people could join our school community to get all the education, join the 6 different masterminds or accountability groups, the Sunday conversations. Be active in the community. All you got to do is follow the financial firefighter on YouTube, send them a note on Instagram, and you will get your $20 back. It really means a lot that we have community members saying, I want to cover people and make it a no-brainer to join our school community. So shout out Mark, Mikey, Charles, and Carrie for doing that. Dion, wrap us up.
I think you have a good point when you say that reaching financial freedom is not complicated. It's simple, right? The problem is we have to mix in delayed gratification.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. You're talking those 5 to 10 years, people think, well, yeah, I've just got to make more, spend less, and save and invest the difference, which to spend less means either no vacation or a cheaper vacation, more work, side hustle. Like, so you got to delay the things you want. And then
it's a decade of suck. I mean, how many more times do I have to tell you the first 5 years suck and the full journey is a decade? I mean, I don't try to make this sound sexy or easy, but it is fucking possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then add with that delayed gratification, that hockey stick growth.
Yeah.
We talk about that first 5 years sucking. It's because when you get halfway through the journey, you will not be halfway to the goal.
Correct.
You will be still on that slow trajectory until you get all those levers you can start pulling it the year 7, 8, 9.
Mm-hmm.
And people aren't willing to wait that long. So the social programs, the living with your kids ends up being the goal for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that hockey stick, and I love that we did that video a couple of weeks ago because I see lots of people start this, they get it, but they stop at year 4, year 6 because, again, to your point, they're there, but they haven't seen it's not like a 1-to-1 ratio, right? They haven't got that, the exponential part of the curve. So I'm glad that you brought that up. And you can find them, Dion Talk. When do you do your live?
Every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific, and July 10th, I'll be on Bigger Pockets doing a live webinar, and I'm hoping people go and sign up for it. It's free, but if you sign up for it, there's more likelihood of there being more of them in the future. And that's going to be interesting because I'm not sure which platform they use and how all that's going to work. So
I'm sure you'll figure it out. Matt, where they can find you and close us up.
Lumberjack Landlord, 9 p.m. Eastern time Thursdays. Didn't do one last Thursday. I was on the road, got the call from a couple of buddies, and they said, "Hey, come down." And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And so that's
okay.
Like, sold. So back at it this Thursday night. They're just answering questions, helping people out in their real estate journey, and it's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it to see people that say, "Hey, thank you so much for answering my question. Like, couldn't get that answer anywhere else." And it's great to be able to be part of a community that we can deliver that for people.
Absolutely. Take care, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.